Hello, my name is Kim Knights. I work at Suffolk County Council and I am the Head of Business Management working in adult social care. We are recording a series of short films where I will be chatting with people who also work in adult social care in Suffolk as part of our iCare campaign. I will be asking them about their career, the support that they have had from the council and why they chose the career they did, and what they enjoy about their job and the work that they do. I really hope that through these films you will learn a little bit about the wide range of roles available. I also hope that you will find inspiration in these films to consider whether a career in care would be right for you. For more information about working in adult social care here in Suffolk, please visit our website www.careers.suffolk.gov.uk/services and click on adult social care. Hello, Lloyd. Really welcome to today.
Thank you.
Enjoy your coffee and your cake.
I will do,
and
thank
welcome
you.
to the iCare campaign recordings. So tell me a little bit about what you do in your role.
It's really hard to sort of try summarise it distinctly and concisely. But I suppose if I had to try and summarise it, I work with adults who have diagnosed with learning disability and/or autism. And I specifically work with them to identify what their social care needs are and essentially try to support them to live an independent life as possible, whether or not that's through arranging care and support services from them, ensuring that we're signposting them to services that are already existing in the community, or working with them from like safeguarding perspectives to try and prevent them from being subjected to harm. So it's quite an all-encompassing role, and it's quite varied. My job changes a lot each day. But it's really valuable work, and I really enjoy it.
Lots of responsibility there.
You could say that, yeah. Lots of responsibility, yeah. Lots of jobs to be done as such. A lot of things to manage all at once, but keeps you on your feet, which can be good.
So how long have you been doing it, Lloyd?
Do you know what? I think in 4 days' time it'll be 5 years.
Congratulations. What did you do before that?
Interestingly, I did it straight out of uni. So, at 18 years old, I went to university to train to become a social worker, and came out of uni, had an intermediary job just whilst I was getting myself sorted, because originally I'm not from Suffolk. So came down to Suffolk, was a dinner lady for a little bit, or dinner person.
Yeah?
Until eventually I got this job back in, 2019. Yeah.
So, when you were younger, did you know you wanted to be a social worker and work in adult social care? Did you have that drive back then?
I knew I definitely wanted to be a social worker of sorts. So I was actually inspired to be a social worker by my mum.
Okay.
Because my mum is a qualified social worker.
Yeah.
Admittedly, she went down a children's path and then into like a sort of adult's path, and that's back home in North East Lincolnshire. And I suppose she inspired me a little bit because growing up, she had to do like an access course. So she was doing a part-time access course and then uni. So she was trained to be a social worker for what felt like about 6 to 10 years almost. So I was coming home from school, secondary school. She was asking me about my day, and I was telling her everything that I'd been up to. And equally, I then asked her about her day and everything that she'd learned.
Yeah.
And just by having those kinds of conversations, learning about the theories behind social work, about the moral, the ethical principles that underpin it, and hearing about her placements and the type of things that she got up to each day, it was just like really inspiring. And I think that's sort of what led me on to training to become one in my own right.
Is she still a social worker?
She is. She's not a social worker in practice as such. She actually works for a dementia charity, and I think she sort of like mans the operations of it and stuff now. But she really enjoys it, and she still keeps a registration each year.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Yeah,
what a role model.
She really loves it, yeah. It's really good, and really inspiring.
Good. What do you love about the job?
I do get a sense of satisfaction out of making a difference. And that difference isn't always really tangible. I get like a little bit of a kick out of having positive feedback from people. And, oh, thank you for that thing that you did. And I really enjoy the fact that often you're coming into somebody's life when things are really not quite great. and they just need a little bit of direction, a little bit of guidance, and almost a little bit of hope, I suppose, to try and steer things back on track, and to take people through that journey and almost go alongside them, and hopefully get them to the point where they no longer need you again, is just a really worthwhile thing to do. And I get a real kick out of having those emails that say, "Oh, thank you for everything that you did, and I'll see you again next year," you know, type thing, is really nice. And to try and summarise it, you know, concisely, helping people to achieve things in their life is really valuable.
I mean, to give somebody hope, there's not a better job than that, is there?
No, I suppose not. And, you know, there's not very many jobs that can achieve that. You know, I think, you know, doctors and nurses, obviously. I'm not medical enough for that kind of thing. And I think there's also an element of like problem solving, I think. I think sometimes people are faced with situations in which there's no clear solution, or actually there is no solution. And actually it's about collateral damage almost. And it's like, okay, how can we minimize this thing that's happening and that's really terrible? And I think to go along people with that and give them that hope is really great.
What would you say to somebody that was maybe thinking about coming into work in adult social care?
I would say that it's an option. I think my personal experience of when I was in university was that my degree was very heavily focused on children's social work. A lot of the examples that was used was all about children's, and a lot of the academia was founded in children's social work. And adults was almost like a bit of a second thought for everyone. And I know for me personally, I was never interested in children's. I think mostly because I couldn't necessarily deal with the emotional, you know, everything that's associated with children's social work. It gets a bad rap. So I think when I was doing my degree, I was like, well, I want to go into adults because that appears to not have as much of a bad rap. And also, the thing to remember with adult social work is people need and want your help. And they're coming to you because they need you in their life and they need you to make that difference for them, whereas children's work is sometimes a little bit more intrusive. So if you want to come into a role that makes you feel valued and, you know, wanted and desired, and that you are really making a difference, it's definitely something you should consider. It's not just children's social work.
It's interesting you say that because, you know, many years ago, adults and children, you know, were all one organisation. And I think the public probably know more about children's social services, which is part of what this campaign does. It just really highlights how many people there are in Suffolk working in the adult social care market.
Absolutely.
So you'd say to somebody, go for it?
Yeah, definitely go for it. At the end of the day, social work it's a profession that's founded in principles. And whether or not you're qualified as a children's social worker now, your skills are transferable. And it's just about wrapping your head around a new piece of legislation, which sounds quite daunting, but actually there's a lot of support from the organisation and from management to actually get your head around that and really embed yourself into what we do. So yeah, definitely go for it. Don't be scared to dip your toe in and see what it's like.
So when you qualified to be a social worker and you started working in Suffolk County Council, were you offered any on-the-job training, development, anything like that?
Yeah, I was. And I think you're almost a little bit sport for choice, actually, in terms of training. There's a lot of training opportunities for you to take on. And I think they vary in sort of complexity and knowledge. So there's often you've got your introduction to a specific topic, and then once you've done that, you're able to then be eligible for like the next level. So there was definitely lots of support in terms of helping to wrap your head around like the legislation, for example. You know, you've got your Care Act, and trying to completely understand what that then looks like in practice rather than just on a piece of legislation. You've then got the other aspects of what entails the job, which safeguarding, and also just the internal aspects of what we do. lots of training opportunities, and there's definitely an encouragement to actually take all those on, and it's part and parcel of your job. Some of them are made mandatory, so there's actually the encouragement for you to take time away from your usual role to have those learning opportunities.
So it sounds like quite a lot of support wrapped around you.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so.
Yeah.
Especially from my team specifically, management. There is a culture within our team about people going on to take training,
That's
and
fantastic.
people are given that protected time to do
Yeah.
it. And as a supervisor myself, it's definitely a topic of conversation that we introduce during every supervision about what training have you been booked onto, what's left outstanding. So yeah, definitely lots of support and culture around training.
Sounds like a great culture.
I'd like to say so.
Yeah,
Obviously, being a supervisor
yeah.
myself, it's
Yes,
easy for
no,
me.
great.
It's easy for me to say that, but yeah, I'd like to think so.
So tell me a bit about an average day for you then on the job.
An average day. An average day starts off logging on, usually from home now, which is a really good aspect of the role, I find, being able to balance working from home and from the offices. Navigating my way through emails, and the amount of emails vary day to day. There will be meetings, and whether or not that's meetings with my customers or clients or actually with professionals that I'm working with. There's also team meetings and directorate meetings as well. But then, unfortunately, part and parcel does come your recording that you have to do and sit down and make sure you're getting everything, all your reports written up and everything is all finalised. So I'd say that's an average day, a combination of both independent practice and recording, but also a lot of collaborative work as well.
What's the best bit about it?
About my working day, or
about your average working day, which is your favourite bit?
I think for me personally, the best part of my day is the collaboration I have with my colleagues. The nature of social work is that we're involved in people's lives, and often that can be quite complex. And I think as social workers, we have to acknowledge that we don't always have the answers for you. So often during team meetings and conversations with colleagues, we'll bring it up as topic of conversation. Oh, I've got this particular situation and I don't know exactly how to navigate it. And having that collaborative opportunity with team members to unpick what's going on and question our perceptions or our judgments on the situation, and taking that time to reflect on, well, could you have done this differently? Are you coming to this conclusion because of this? And really that self-criticism and scrutiny is really, I really get a kick out of it. It's really enjoyable.
And when you were talking earlier, excuse me, about your average day, I think when you said the word recording, I sort of saw your face slightly change. Would it be fair to say that maybe that's not the most exciting part of the job?
It's not the most exciting part of the job, but we all have to acknowledge that, within any job, there is definitely the aspects that have to be done. And it's just part and parcel of what you do. And the amount of recording varies depending on what's going on at the time. The light at the end of the tunnel is the value in having the meetings in the first place and actually getting out and achieving really good pieces of work with people.
And you were saying like you started off as a social worker, you're now a supervisor.
Yes.
What's next?
Linking it back to what I said earlier about in terms of like collaborating with colleagues, I think I could definitely imagine a world in which I sort of transition into like a professional advisory role where I'm going to different teams and we've got certain topics to cover, whether or not that be a piece of legislation or a piece of policy that's came out, and really supporting practitioners on the ground to understand it, unpick it, implement it, scrutinise it, and supporting that culture change. Social works obviously it's ever growing, it's ever developing because it has to keep up with the times. And I think supporting those culture changes periodically, whether or not it's through legislation, is a really valuable piece of work, and it's definitely something I'd like to explore in future.
And professional advisor is another role within adult social care, isn't it? Yeah,
we've got professional advisors that sit within, working within the Learning Disability Directorate. We've got a Learning Disability Professional Advisor who's really great, and I really enjoy the input that he provides into our teams on occasions. And yeah, I think it's definitely something I could see myself going into in the future.
That's great. Lloyd, thank you so much for sharing your story with me today.
No problem at all.
And thanks for coming in.
Thank you.